Hey, what's going on there, guys? cloudedtruth here, and welcome back to Support Showcase, the series I do on my channel in which I showcase anything and everything support class. From weapons, gadgets, tactics, and strategies, I go over them to help you become a little bit better of a support class player here in Battlefield 4, and then ultimately together we can master this class and become flat out unstoppable support class players. It's going to take a group effort on you guys and myself so that we all can become just flat out amazing players with this class. And I'm going to be growing just with you all in terms of my skills and my abilities. Get good or get wrecked. That's the motto I've got for this. Basically, we are going to get good and learn and improve ourselves, or we're just going to get flat rolled up and tossed aside. And that's really the end of story when it comes to that. It's just we got to learn to get better, but we have to do it together. So whenever I do these, be sure to leave comments down below, adding extra tips, anything else you want me to cover, something that you think is important. That way we can all together learn and grow and become better support players here in Battlefield 4. Now for today, I'm going to be going over the M240B, the Tiger, the flat out beast and monster here in Battlefield 4. Now I've done a previous video talking about this weapon, just kind of my first rough initial thoughts. Now I've actually gotten the 500 kills master dog tag for this weapon, and so I'm going to be covering how to really understand and master this weapon in Battlefield 4. Now I could show you guys tons of Operation Locker gameplay of just sitting there mowing guys down over and over again, but that's really boring because it doesn't show anything other than the fact if I can shoot down a funnel. What I'm actually going to be doing is showing clips kind of like this one right here. See that helicopter right there? Yeah, I've got a light machine gun. Son, what are you doing? Don't shoot at me. Don't get my attention. Why? Because that may happen. That's pretty darn fast for a light machine gun taking someone out. And that's one thing the 240B has that only it shares with the PKP Peshineg in Battlefield 4. The raw damage is just outrageous. With a max of 34 and a minimum of 25, you're going to be doing an insane amount of damage per shot, and it will always be a 4-bullet kill, unless of course perhaps if the enemy is wearing the armor upgrade, or of course the damage multiplier to the leg is also another thing that we have to consider. With a very high damage model though, there definitely are some downsides to the M240B that help balance it out. There's quite a number of aspects about this weapon that many players find to be a little bit too much and kind of over the top, and they see it as bad really for this weapon, and it really just turns them off to using it. One of which of course is the fire rate at only 650 rounds a minute. While that seems rather slow, and it is when compared to some of the other weapons in the game, even to the M249 and MG4 that fire at 800 RPM, which are the two fastest firing LMGs in the game, the M240B's damage really helps you in that situation because you're dishing out more damage per shot, so therefore a slower RPM, while it's not fantastic, it's definitely not going to hurt you because of that high damage with each bullet. The other thing though about the M240B that even support class players and guys that enjoy using LMGs don't like about this weapon, and personally it's something that it's not great, but it's not something that I find really takes away from just the raw power and usage of this gun, and that is the fact that its recoil amounts are the worst in the entire game. With a 0.6 vertical recoil and a 0.5 left and right pull, you will find this weapon's recoil to be very hard to manage, especially when you're just starting to use it and you're trying to engage targets at range. That 0.6 vertical recoil will kick up this weapon incredibly hard, and the left and right pulls will make it bounce back and forth much more drastically than any other weapon out there. Now the PKP Peshineg is not far behind in this category, but it's definitely not as high. But one perhaps saving grace of the M240B's recoil is the fact that its first shot recoil multiplier is half of that of the LSAT, which is a 1.0. At a 0.5 first shot recoil multiplier, it is really one of the few saving graces with the M240B's recoil, and you're not going to notice just that really hard kick up at first. Obviously, if you continuously hold down the trigger, you're going to find that recoil to go up pretty fast. So in terms of attachments go for the M240B, what's the best setup in order to be able to use this weapon the most effectively? Now when it comes to attachments on guns, it's really down to a personal and opinionated base subject in terms of what you find works the best for you. What I choose and what I run may not work well at all for you. If that's the case, then be sure to pick the attachments that work best for you. If it's the worst setup in the game and it works the best for you, then use it. It's that simple. Don't just go off stats. But I'm going to cover what I use on the M240B as I unlock the master dog tag for this weapon, and then talk about why I choose these certain attachments that I do. Now, my particular side of choice is obviously, as you can see here, is the Coyote RDS. Now, the red dot sight, the regular one, just the reflex RDS is pretty good. Holographic obviously is another good one. Any kind of zoom scope isn't too bad. The M145 or the Canadian 3.4 times scope is also pretty good on this weapon I found. But once I unlocked the Coyote in a battle pack, this is the one that actually seemed to work well. For some reason, on some guns, the Coyote sight works really well, and some of them I don't really like. The M240B though, the Coyote sight works very well on. The second attachment I use is the Times Magnification. Why is that? Well, because the Coyote sight, obviously, it does not give you really any increased zoom, and so having a magnification that you can put on your weapon to see targets more clearly, or just clear down range, is going to be very, very effective. You saw in the previous clips on Zavod 311 how there's guys way up in these kind of those the trees, the forest area, and once I put on the scope, I was able to identify them and point them out and really be able to hit them much easier than what I was before. In terms of a laser sight, I don't really recommend one because the M240B in terms of usage goes should be stuck really to range. This is about as close quarters as you want. I have a tendency to be over aggressive with this weapon, but that's just kind of my nature, my playstyle. With the M240B, you want to make sure you're staying at about medium range. Even though this damage model on this gun is ridiculously high, especially in close quarters being a 3-bullet kill, you want to stick out to range because this weapon just does not do very well in close quarters. If you learn to burst fire this weapon correctly, which is another thing that is really important with this gun, is understanding its burst fire, but once you do get that down, you'll be able to pick off your targets very easy at range and really frustrate a lot of enemies. Firing in anywhere from 2 to 5 shot bursts is what I found to work best for the M240B. The M240B has got the worst bullet really spread increase per shot than any other LMG in the game. Basically that means the longer you hold the weapon down, each bullet you fire, its spread increases it multiplies in terms of degrees goes worse than any other gun, meaning that your bullets get less accurate the longer you hold down the trigger. So what you want to remember is that you need to constantly burst with this weapon. Constantly burst, 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 and you will find yourself getting a lot of long range kills, but don't overburst, which I have a tendency to do sometimes. Slow down. If the guy's pretty far away, just quick tap fire, just a 2-shot burst, 3-shot burst, nice and easy. Keep in mind how much damage you're doing per shot, and you'll be able to take him down. In terms of grips goes, I definitely run the potato grip. I mean, it's potato, duh, but potato or stubby because it just helps you increase accuracy overall. An angled grip is not necessary as the M240B just doesn't have very much first shot recoil, like I mentioned earlier, so I don't find it really that good, but if it works for you, then use it. In terms of the barrel, I really like the muzzle brake to help control that very high vertical recoil. The suppressor is also another great option. Heavy barrel, not so much for me. Well guys, that's going to do it for me. Hopefully you all have enjoyed. Be sure to leave your thoughts about it below. And like always, if you enjoyed, a rating is much appreciated. Take care, and I'll see you all next time.